Now we're all here. Okay, so you saw the area where we call it the coupled cyclotron facility. That's where we actually make the nuclei we want to study. Then we walked up here, over, across. Now we're in this room. There's actually two detectors in here. This is the modular neutron array, or MoNA. Modular neutron array. This is the large multi-institutional scintillator array, or LISA. This is the MoNA-LISA experiment. They're really proud of themselves. They worked really hard to make it MoNA-LISA. Yeah, graduate students. Anyway, what MoNA-LISA do? If you want to do an experiment in this room, after you make them, there's basically a train switch yard. You can divert your beam of nuclei to one of several rooms. They can come in through the wall over there. There's a pipe, and then we'll smash them on the other side of this big red magnet here. It's the second time we smashed them. The big red magnet will steer all the charged particles into that box right there. And that has detectors, you can measure stuff. But neutrons, being neutral, are unaffected by magnetic fields. They go straight. They go straight through this metal plate, through the air, and into those detectors. Now I just got done telling you that we need a vacuum to transport nuclei. Neutrons, however, are really hard to stop. So they go right through the metal, right through the air. That's why we have 6 feet of concrete, really, is to stop the neutrons. So these are neutron detectors, granted. Each of these black bars is actually a clear plastic on the inside. Just like any plastic you've seen, it's a hard plastic, except it has extra hydrogen in it. And what that means is when a neutron bumps into a hydrogen nucleus, proton, the proton moves. It excites the electrons around it. When they de-excite, they emit photons. Long story short, you hit this thing with neutrons, it glows purple on the inside. You can't see a neutron, no way, but you can see purple light just fine. So that's the evidence we're looking for. So that purple light will transport down to the photomultiplier tubes on the ends. They amplify the amount of light you have, just like sort of night vision goggles would. They send a signal. You see all these wires. You got about 12 miles of wire right here. Sends a signal to the computer. The computer can tell you which bar was hit by a neutron, where in the bar that neutron was, how fast is it going, and what direction. So with all that information, we're getting all these neutrons in the room. We're placing them. With what we know, we can actually run time backwards with a computer model and reassemble what the nucleus looked like before we smashed it, essentially. What we're doing here is a lot like forensics. You come to a crime scene, you don't see the crime, you see evidence and try to reconstruct what happened there based on that evidence. We never observe the nucleus. It's impossible. You can't see it, but we can see evidence of it, purple light, and then we try to reconstruct what happened, what that nucleus is like. This is CSI nuclei. And that's my favorite joke in the whole thing. But that's what we do, essentially. But we don't study the nuclei. Of course, the nuclei are typically existing for less than a second that we're studying. So in general, we break them, pick up the pieces, and try to reassemble the puzzle. That's how most of our experiments work around this laboratory. So that's what MoNA-LISA for. Actually, the great thing about MoNA-LISA is a collaboration. Really, MoNA and LISA were designed by faculty from all these schools. Michigan State, of course, that's us. Central Michigan, Western Michigan, Hope College, Indiana, Florida State, all kinds of schools, big and small. The professors, faculty designed it. It was college students who built these things. And college students come here every summer and do their own experiments with them. What better way to learn nuclear science than actually getting your hands dirty at one of the top laboratories you have?
Are they the only evidence you have for what you've done?
Sorry?
Neutrons are the only evidence you have for what you've done?
No, because we also have the charged particles in that box.
Oh.
Yeah, so we pick up as many pieces as you can. That's the key. But in the end, I mean, this is the advantage of having a laboratory like this in the middle of a university campus. Students get their hands on it all the time. #1 nuclear science department in the country. That's why. That's one of the reasons why. So, educating the next generation is a big part of what we do. And we're very, very proud of that. There's one other thing I want to show you in this room, and it's the wall, believe it or not. How exciting is that? No, seriously. The wall, come on over here. 6 feet of concrete between me and the next room. Just normal concrete blocks, nothing unusual there. Can you tell me what's wrong with this wall? It's a holy wall. There's no mortar holding this together. Gravity does a fine job. It's not coming apart or anything. But these are loose bricks. Therefore, anytime I want, I can take off the roof, unstack this wall, and restack it in any shape I need. And we do this constantly.
Oh my gosh.
This laboratory, science is a moving target. If you are not constantly upgrading your laboratory, you are falling behind the competition. You always got to be adding new equipment, new technologies, trying something new techniques, doing the cutting edge research. If you don't, well, you don't get to be top 3 in the world anymore by sitting around. So, in the 5.5 years I've been here, we have never stopped tearing apart these walls. We will never stop. When I got here, this was actually 3 separate rooms. But we needed a big space for MoNA-LISA. It just helps. Yeah, Zach Meisel is the guy who works with this this container right here. And they think it looks like R2-D2, so he is naturally C-3PO. Makes perfect sense to me. Anyway, so all the walls really in this area of the laboratory, the research space, they're all modular. And they can be reconfigured any way we need.
But I don't, seems like a conflict. They're that thick, but they're porous.
But the beautiful thing is, radiation doesn't take turns. So, as long as there's no straight line path through 6 feet of concrete, you're good. And I've actually seen them lay out patterns on the floor to make sure there's no straight line. Yeah, exactly. Isn't that funny? But yeah. Funny thing is, these wall blocks here, I mean, most of the walls are these tiny blocks, but you know, you could, in most cases, you could use several big blocks and just fill in the gaps. So we actually designed these wall blocks ourselves, had them specially cast. They have unistrut inside, embedded, so you can attach parts onto it. And there's a hook for the crane. And when you look at them from the top, they kind of look like a T, so they can interlock with the next one. So we had these specially made, and so when we tore apart the walls for these 3 rooms, we were able to slap this wall back up with the crane in a day, and then we filled in the gaps. Of course, we hire a bunch of undergrads at minimum wage to unstack these bricks.
My son was one of them.
Aha! Cheap labor makes it possible. It's very, very good. That's a good job. You can get it.
Yeah, well,
You really build up your upper body strength, you know. Anyway. So the walls, as you walk around, do change. In fact, you come here next year for a tour. Something will have changed on the tour. Guaranteed. Always does.